Hey guys, it's Badfish again here with Gonegaming. Welcome again to San Pedro. Today, as I alluded to in the last episode, we are going to be going ahead and making our first bit of high density kind of downtown area. So I want to make a small little port city right here in this area adjacent to what is eventually going to be our two main cities. And there, of course, is the power plant and water treatment plant that we made. So what we're going to do to start out is I just want to put an intersection right here at the start of where our city is going to be. I want a highway to just kind of run right through it. So what we're going to do is use an asset that I picked up off the Steam Workshop, which is a very cool little intersection. It looks like this. So we're going to do this, and we're actually going to raise it up a little bit so that way it's more or less level. I might have to go in a little bit later with move it to make sure that it is level, but for right now that looks pretty good actually. So we're just going to connect this right on through, and then what I'm thinking is we are going to have another highway entrance right here where the bridge kind of starts. So I'm actually going to take that bridge area off because it's not really necessary, and I might actually just do the same intersection once again. Just pop that in like that. And in a second here, we're going to jump right into a time lapse, just starting the basic layout of what we want to do with this area. So I'm going to run the highway right on through. We're going to put some other connections in, and we'll get started with that, and I'll see you in the time lapse. So I'm just starting to put down the basis for the little port for this city. I did want this little city to be more of a port town. So I'm really just stretching out the railroad connections and things like that. These are all subject to change. I just wanted to have them connect outwards and figure out where they're going to be going more or less. I definitely need some help with railroads. That's not really my forte, so if anyone has any good tips on catching them through, making them realistic, definitely let me know. But as far as the town itself, I kind of had a plan. I mean, we are doing an American city, so it is going to be a lot more of a grid structure to the road system, but I did still try to follow the actual outskirts of the bay and follow the land a little bit, which you will see coming up in just a moment. I did leave the bottom left side with no roads. I did that because I do want to put a park there eventually. Right now you can see me just doing a little bit of terraforming. Again, for some reason, I mean, the water physics in this game are just miserable with me sometimes. I mean, sometimes they're fine, like sometimes they're really cool when you put in a channel or something like that and it all rushes through, but then other times you'll be putting down these keys or quays, however you pronounce it, and it'll just be like, alright, well, I'm going to put a tidal wave on the other side of the map, and you're just sitting there like, cool. This is great. So that kind of happened with this. I think we actually did get some flooding on the other side of the map for some reason, just from placing down a couple slabs of concrete. Don't know what that's about, but we get it under wraps eventually. So I'm just kind of mapping out what I want to be kind of the waterfront industrial area right now. So I have this roundabout that connects through to these, these two cargo yards. We're going to do some more detailing around here later on. We keep it pretty simple throughout the duration of the video, but I think it ends up looking pretty good as far as a cargo area goes. So at this point, I just start putting down some of the base roads just to have them sitting there so I know what they look like. I am using 6-lane roads with bus lanes. I'm doing that just because I do want buses to run kind of right through this entire city, and having those bus lanes helps. And it's not going to be a gigantic population center. Like I said, it's going to be a smaller city compared to the other two that are going to be across the way. So I'm not envisioning that traffic is going to be a gigantic problem as far as needing all 6 lanes for car traffic. I think 4 will be just fine. So like I said, at this point I'm just trying to connect everything on through, get my main roads down, kind of build a spine for what I want the grid to look like, and then I do eventually just go through and make the highway connections, so I know where the highway is going to run, and I kind of build around that a little bit. I think that helped it look a little bit more interesting as far as the layout of the roads themselves. I think sometimes if you just build a grid without having kind of something cutting through it, it can get really repetitive. So I just looped the highway on through, and we're going to put some different connections in through this. They are not the prettiest of connections. They'll probably, again, be subject to change, but for now they get the job done. By the end of this, we do have like a sizable population in this area. I think like at least a few thousand, and the highway connections seem to be working pretty well. I haven't had any of them back up a crazy amount, so I think we'll be alright. So right now I'm just putting down some guide roads to kind of set up the main sections of the grid so I know where they are. I want them to be more or less not parallel but perpendicular to the highways and running across that way, and then putting some parallel roads down too. So we just have these big 6-lane roads kind of gutting through everything on this peninsula. I do wrap a road around here. I think I actually end up deleting that eventually, but I might put that back in and just have that be an absolutely gigantic park. And then of course, because we are running the highway through a bulk of the city, I do have to move a lot of those pylons. So this will be kind of a reoccurring theme throughout the episode. You'll see me going through, moving those pylons so that way people aren't driving into straight concrete. And I'm just trying to use some different angles with the grid too, so it's not all, you know, just straight grid through the entire thing, although that can look really good sometimes. I didn't want that to be the case here. So just using some different angles to break up the grid a little bit, make it look a little bit different. I think once we have houses kind of all through all of this, it'll look really nice. So I tried to do different shapes with the squares within the grid too. Tried not to keep them all the same size. Again, just to break it up a little bit, make it look a little bit more interesting. And, you know, not a lot of cities have perfect grids. You know, unless it's one of the, you know, very planned out cities like New York or something like that, you are going to have variation within your grid. And I think, you know, a lot of people want to say American cities are boring because of the grid. I think it actually, at least from above, and I mean, let's be real, when you're playing a city builder, you're going to be looking at cities from above a lot. I think the grid is really rewarding. I think it can look really cool. And, you know, up close, obviously, maybe it's not the prettiest, but I do like it. So I am trying to just cut through some of these arterial roads here, but I am making one way so that way we don't have stop lights that close to each other, and I'm just using Traffic Manager to make them more or less cut through lanes for the buses and things like that, and for the cars. So that way we don't need to have, you can only turn off from one side, you can't turn off from both sides, so we don't have cars cutting through traffic to turn left or something like that. So it has just a little bit of different ways for the traffic to go without creating congestion, without having to have all those intersections be stoplights within the 6-lane roads. And then just kind of connecting things through. I'm not really building roads under the highway as much. I might put a couple in, but just trying to keep things, I want it to be that they built this city kind of around the highway, more or less, or even, I guess actually maybe they just built the city or the highway through the city instead. I know that was a big thing in the 50s in America, is once after World War II and they came back, there was a lot of road projects, definitely under Eisenhower as well, where they just built these highways straight through the cities. So right now I am putting down one of the exchanges into the city. It's a little bit of a work in progress. The final version you're going to see in this video is not actually the final version I'm using. I did do a little bit of tweaking off camera, so next episode I'll go through that in the beginning so you guys can kind of see what I did off camera. all I did off camera was just flesh it out a little bit as far as the downtown area, which was the goal for this episode. We get pretty much the most of it done in the episode, but there was just a couple little things I wanted to add. And I just did that off camera because they weren't very interesting. It was mostly just tweaking roads. And then tomorrow, or whenever the next episode comes out, we will go through and add a little more detail to the downtown area that we're building, add some different points of interest. I know I plopped down high school eventually. I want to go and decorate that a little bit more. And definitely, if you guys have ideas for what you want to see in this downtown of this small little city, let me know, because I think, we could put some cool stuff in, maybe have the city specialize in something, I don't know. So I think I'm kind of thinking a little bit of a tourist city, just, a little more affluent maybe, I don't know. Once you guys see what the finished product is, let me know. We did see a little teaser of it in the beginning of the episode, so stick around for the end. We'll do a more of a in-depth cinematic. You guys can see exactly what I built, and hopefully that gives you guys some ideas of what you might want to see in this part of the city. We're going to be here for a little while, at least the next few episodes, just kind of making stuff different. That intersection you just saw me put down, I ended up hating the way it connected to the road, so I will go back and delete that. This intersection, though, did pretty good. I think the way it connected ended up working out pretty well. I haven't had any problems with traffic in the simulation yet. Of course, again, that's subject to change, so who knows. But at least it's a smooth connection from the city to the highway. But again, if you guys have any tips for how to make these intersections smoother as they come into the city, let me know. I'm definitely interested in hearing your ideas, because this is kind of it's not the first time I've done this. It's the first time I've done it on YouTube, so definitely let me know if you have any better ideas for what I could do to connect this through and make the city a little bit more believable, a little bit more realistic. And if you don't know, I've talked a little bit about the mods I've used, but I do just want to give a special shout out to Move It. So in case there is anyone who's new to the game or new to the modding scene in the game, Move It is the best mod you can have. It's easily the most used mod I have. You'll see me use it a lot with intersections and things like that. It's when I just grab those different nodes and I'm able to move them and change the curves and things like that. And obviously I'm actually using it right here to move these little guys out of the way so we don't have those concrete pylons in the middle of the road. So definitely check out Move It if you're new to the game. Really great tool, really useful. But this time lapse is about to end. We're going to jump into a short little live section here as I detail a little marina, just so I can talk a little bit through some of my ideas for this kind of waterfront area, and we'll go from there. Thanks. So I wanted to build a little marina adjacent to the ferry docks and the commercial docks, just to have a little bit more of a touristy part to the city. So I'm putting down like one of these little floating cafes. I move it further away from the dock because I realize how big of an obstruction it is. The ferries can still get in and out in the game, but it looks so unrealistic because you have this dock that's like right next to where they would have to skirt in. So I do end up changing that around. So we end up moving it down and adding in a couple marinas. But I just wanted to show you this. It's a pretty simple little bit of detailing I do on this. It's nothing too involved, but I wanted to just kind of talk about this little city right now. So the way it's kind of shaping is it has a pretty prominent waterfront. That's where the downtown's going to be. So I'm thinking I'm going to make it a tourist area, tourist specialization. You will see me do that either at the end of the episode, or if I don't remember if I did it off camera, I might have, but I will go back through and show you guys if I did do it off camera what's kind of populated. But I do need to look up some different assets to find some different hotels and stuff than just the vanilla ones. The vanilla ones don't look bad, but I think we can just do better and find things that maybe are a little more themed within kind of the San Francisco, California kind of vibe. But I mean, even with the vanilla stuff, it looks pretty good. So you'll see a couple of the buildings I added in the back here. I did put a casino in, again, just kind of for that touristy vibe. And then a couple of different, nicer office buildings. I didn't use my super tall skyscraper buildings, which, by the way, happy skyscraper day if you're listening to it today. If not, it was skyscraper day the day I recorded this audio, so I just thought it was fitting. Anyway, I didn't put my big skyscrapers in just because I want to save those for the main city, the main hubs. But I do put some shorter, smaller, but still cool architecturally towers in, just to have the skyline look a little bit more interesting. So I hope you guys like that. If you have any ideas for the skyline or any assets that you really like that you might want to see built into either this small town or into the main towns, definitely let me know. I'd be open to that. So just moving things here, getting them lined up nicely. For some reason, I hate that these buildings don't have like driveways. So if you'll see, I'm putting in this nice little parking lot, and I actually really like the way this parking lot ended up. But then the game yelled at me and said that these two buildings don't have connections, which is upsetting. So, life pro tip, to try not to care about the road connections, otherwise you're going to get these little ugly roads. But unfortunately for me, I will always care about things being functional within the game first and foremost, so I do end up cutting a road through here, trying to fix it up as best as I can, make it look good. I think the final looked alright. So this parking lot is going to basically, by necessity, be deleted. But I can just kind of show you just some of my general processes for going through and making parking lots. So I'll just put that down like that, and then again, move it. Great tool. You use the blanket select here. You just get it to decals, swipe over everything, Control C. Boom, you got a whole another line of parking like nothing. So again, move it, great tool, highly recommend it. Shout out to the modders that made that. The game would not be the same without it. Would not nearly be able to put in as much detail as I like to, because it would be so tedious. So then just throwing down different cars. I try to just grab more or less vanilla cars, sedans, SUVs. I think I have like a Jeep, and then actually I do have like a Mercedes model. I might add some different car models to my repertoire later on. And when you're putting down the cars, I always try not to make them all straight and parked the same way, because I have never been in a parking lot that I haven't said, oh, that guy sucks at parking, to at least one car when I pull in. So I try to just kind of, put them in a little more haphazardly than maybe you might want to do in this game, because it is easy to kind of put things down perfectly. But I think just to make that believability factor, putting them in a little haphazardly and flipping them around definitely helps. And then just to add a little bit more detail to this little part, I do put down a couple planters with some palm trees in them. I just thought it would look nice for a little marina cafe, like they're trying to do some landscaping and getting that kind of beachy, tourist, carefree vibe with the palm trees. I might move the ferry stuff a little bit further down and away from everything, but that's just because I don't know if the juxtaposition between the marina and then like a big ferry center is too much. Let me know what you guys think when you see the final product. It does look good as far as just like a stretched out waterfront though, so we might keep it. But we're gonna jump back into another time lapse here and finish out the little planning of the downtown, and we'll go from there. So again, guys, you're just seeing me put down another little parking lot. I did this because the zoning areas inside of this little stretch were so weird. They wouldn't be uniform. You just have these like tiny little, whatever you want to put there, commercial, residential buildings. So I didn't want to put buildings there, so I thought I'd just make it into a nice little static parking lot, maybe extra parking for the marina. I think it ends up looking pretty good. I do put these fences around and end up deleting them I think they just ended up being a little bit too much, and I couldn't get them to fit in a way that like made sense. And then I also realized technically the edges of this are still going to be sidewalk for Sims to walk on, so I didn't want to have them clipping through giant spikes all the time. So I do end up moving that out and kind of adjusting the actual parking spaces so they're not clipping into the sidewalk too much. And I haven't noticed too, like when I've run the simulation, obviously like I'm not always just staring at this one area, but I haven't noticed too much clipping when I have. So I think it looks good. So again, here's the road connections. Like I said, they got angry about them, and then all these cars ended up floating in midair. So I had to delete all that, put the road connection back in, and then I just copy and paste another little parking lot back there. And then just putting in like some curb decoration, some little bushes and greenery and stuff, just to make it, again, just look a little bit nicer. So that's going to really kind of do it for what we got with the Marina now. If people have ideas like what we could add, definitely if people go to real life marinas and go boating a lot, let me know what kind of like different assets I might be able to use in there, what little things I can maybe add to it. Or if we like it, that's cool too. So right now I am just plopping down some like high density stuff. I ended up just painting it in at the end, and then I think in the next episode we're gonna go through and add whatever buildings we actually want. But I think just sometimes painting it in and then adding retroactively, because sometimes it does populate some cool buildings and some cool areas. So, and then going back through. So right now I'm just putting in like utilities, so hospital, police, fire, just to make it self-sufficient as a city. Again, I hate those little plips when I'm playing that are like, we're mad at you, we don't have enough workers, we don't have this. So I do try to get those away as quickly as possible. That's just for my own sanity. And then right now what you're going to see me do is delete a lot of these buildings because I had prop and tree anarchy on, so they were growing in with trees right down the middle, which not a good look. So we did take those out just to switch it up and make sure that the buildings themselves did not have tons of stuff clipping through. And then you're just going to see me adding some different unique buildings, different monuments, and then just some like different growables that I have listed out, just to again make the skyline a little bit more interesting, have a little bit more flavor to it, and make it make sense. And then we are placing down this high school here. I will change this up later. This is just kind of a rough draft of what I want for it. I like this baseball field a lot. I think it's really nice and kind of fits with what I picture this small city to be. And by the way, guys, this whole city is not named San Pedro, so we do need to come up with some different names for the different towns and stuff. So as you're watching this, definitely think of a name that might be interesting. And that little town that we made in the last episode too, if you got any names for it, let me know. Otherwise, in the next episode or two, I'll just start naming stuff. But I would love to hear from the community if you guys have an interest. So again, just putting down the different things so I can get educated workers is just a simple little city university. This is all, again, going to change around when we do the detailing in the next few episodes. But again, I just wanted that nice little base of what we can make, and that nice little base of the skyline, so we have some cool stuff to look at. And again, I think it ended up looking pretty good. I like having the downtown, right by the water, and then where that more gridded area is up top, I think we're going to do some like packed together low density, and I think once it's all put together it should look pretty cool. I did get some different low density houses that kind of match with the San Francisco, California theme. If you picture the Full House having those wall-to-wall row houses, that's kind of the look I'm going to be going for in this low density area, which we'll tackle next time. And then right here, you are going to see me putting in some more cargo facilities. I know I said I wouldn't do a cargo facility, but we literally have a cargo hub, so I don't know what to do about it. So in this little cargo facility, you're going to see me put down, my typical assets and my typical decals. And then I do put down these big assets I just got that actually have animated cranes to them. However, they don't quite fit. I leave them up for this episode, but off camera I did just go back and delete them and put back what I had before. I think it looked nicer, and I want to use those cargo details in a little more planned out way when we make a bigger cargo yard in the main city. But we're getting closer to the end of this time lapse. I am going to leave you with a bit of an extended cinematic this time, just looking at both that little marina that we detailed as well as the city skyline itself. I just said the name, City Skyline, look at that. Anyway, we're going to go into that cinematic. I will talk to you guys at the end of it, and I hope you like what we built today. I'm glad we finally threw down some actual population for the map, because it was getting quite lonely. So I hope you enjoyed this little downtown area. If you have any suggestions or things I could do better, please let me know in the comments below, and enjoy the cinematic of the town we made. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed today's video. That's going to do it from Gonegaming. As always, my name's Badfish. If you liked what we did today, please leave a like and comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. And if you want to see more of San Pedro and more City Skylines, please consider subscribing. Have a good one.